What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Canes Insight Daily Podcast. Peter, how many cues did I miss there in the beginning?
I mean, it happened last time too. I literally told you I'm about to go live. So
we'll get it, though. We'll get it one of these days. Powered by Anishar and Levine Accident Attorneys. As you can see, we are here at the University of Miami at the Light. Monster series coming up, not here, up in Gainesville this weekend against the Florida Gators. Canes are rolling, playing really, really good baseball heading into that game. A lot of football to talk about, workouts just wrapped over here on the far field. Canes are working hard, have the latest on recruiting, the bank. Going to give you some names that you may not have heard yet that I can confirm are right there in the thick of it on Miami's board with mutual interest. So these are just names that I want you guys to know and put on the radar as major Cane targets with interest. First, going to talk about some folks that if you're looking for a lawyer, you better be targeting. That is Anishar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anishar and Levine. Pete, you're hopped. You're hopped in already.
And we also have the sorry guys, we have our little makeshift setup here today. But we actually have the new coaches speaking now at 11:45. There's no live stream for that, so the videos I'm sure will come out after this, but those press conferences going on now. I know some people had already seen it, but Will Harris, one of the coaches that's going to be doing the press conference. D, I know you're kind of on a time crunch, so we'll get to the recruiting stuff here, but wanted to mention that as well to keep an eye out for that.
Yep. Again, everything will be covered on Canes Insight. By the way, I know we're at the Light. We won't talk too much baseball today, but just recorded a baseball podcast with Sebastian Font. You can check that one out on the YouTube channel. All right, so let's start talking some names. I'm going to start with a 27 name. This will be the only 27 name I get, but it's an important one because it is a quarterback. So check out, if you have not watched the film yet, Peyton Houston out of Shreveport, Louisiana, currently unranked. I can confirm this is a major target. He goes to Evangel Christian Academy, and his offensive coordinator is someone that you might know, another 6-foot type quarterback from Shreveport, and that is Brock Berlin. Obviously, Brock, a huge friend of the program, looks back at his time in Miami very fondly. I think fans look back at his time in Miami even more fondly than when he was here, right? It was kind of an interesting time when he was here taking over for Ken Dorsey, and maybe his flaws got highlighted a little too much, but now people have had a chance to see what it looks like without him. And I think people really, really are jacked up about what this guy did for the program, and he's a guy we want in our corner for this recruitment. So Peyton Houston, again, so Darian Coleman's a quarterback this year. We know that. He's locked in. He's been a great ambassador for the program, playing great football. Neiman Lawrence, the all-everything quarterback, just transferred from Ransom Everglades to Northwestern. That's the 2028 hope. So, we'll see what happens there. But this is a name to keep your eye on for 2027. Peyton Houston, actually, Pete, we're watching this film for the first time. I literally just got these names, so I'm giving it to you like I'm getting them. But what do we see here with Peyton Houston?
Well, I mean, look, this is the first play we've seen here, but obviously looks like a guy who's pushing it downfield these first few plays. Nice throw to the sideline there. You'd imagine that he's got a live arm if he's a guy who's already on the radar this early with that size, right? So again, another nice throw there to the perimeter. Question from A18 Calican: isn't there a live presser right now? Position code. It's not a live presser. There's no actual there's no video for it. So not live at least. So keep an eye out for that after the fact. D just had to step out to take a call real quick as we keep going through these names here. Next one up, Zion Robinson, a wide receiver from Mansfield, Texas, 6'4", 180. This is a guy who 247 has rated as a 93 in the composite, the number 174 player nationally, number 28 player as a wide receiver. Kyle saying pretty embarrassing. We don't do live pressers. We usually do. So I'm not sure that has anything to do with Dan Radakovich as you're suggesting there. Zion Robinson, though, keep him on the radar. Wide receiver from Mansfield, Texas. I'll bring up his film here in just a moment, but I'll I'll do that in just a second. Just waiting for D to get back in here as he was tending to a phone call here. The next name, Joel Irvin from Fort Myers, offensive tackle, 6'6", 280, only a 3-star right now, but has offers from Florida, Kentucky, Arkansas, Auburn. Looks like a guy who's going to be a fast riser and someone to keep on the radar. We'll get through. I'll pull up the huddles here in just a second for everyone, but just wanted to kind of get through the names, run down this list of names that you should be paying attention to that maybe haven't been getting as much publicity for whatever reason, but these guys are legitimate targets for Miami. KC3 saying Zion Robinson, 6'8" high jumper and 10'9", 100-meter elite athleticism. Yes, complete stud. Someone who is heavily on Miami's radar, again, from Texas. So Canes Cat C305 saying, I trust all of our O-line evals. I agree. And this is a guy, when we're talking about Joel Irvin here, I'll pull up his page so you guys see it here on 247. But 6'6", 280, again, Fort Myers, so relatively local here on the west coast of Florida. And you see some of these offers, Florida, Kentucky, Arkansas, Kentucky. So this is a guy who already has some offers. I would expect him to get a bump in the ratings. I'll pull up his highlights here in a second. So let's see. Kyle said nothing like D throwing it to Pete for opinions on a prospect Pete hasn't seen first play yet either.
All right. Sorry, man. We're working. This is, I promise you, listen, my wife calls, I ignore. If my family calls, ignore. Kids sick at school, we'll deal with it later. But when it comes to you on football, I got to take those calls. So
I was just going on a list of names here.
So do we get to where are we at now?
I was passing Joel Irvin and getting to this next one.
So Joel Irvin, big guy from Southwest Florida. He is certainly a target. And someone his name hasn't been mentioned. There's a great year in state. So I think in state, Miami would love to just do work. The out-of-state names to watch, Jackson Cantwell. We talked about it a million times. He's visiting unofficially again, and he's going to visit officially. As I understand, there are some connections between Miami's track program and his parents. So there is a track connection I was worried about. He's visiting for, I believe, 4 days. So this is a serious visit for Jackson Cantwell, number 1 player in the country from Missouri. Also, the other out-of-state guy, Ben Congdon from Ohio, one of my favorites. This guy's 6'8", lean, state champion in heavyweight division wrestling. Starting to get, attention. Penn State's coming after him hard, but I think he's not rated properly for his talent level. This guy's a major, major stud. He's visiting unofficially, I believe, next week. He's someone with Miami's really building momentum in. So to keep momentum with, keep your eye on Ben Congdon. I think he is a home run type player. Love that evaluation from Mirabal. He's going to have everybody in the Big Ten after him eventually. But Miami's got a lot of momentum right now with Congdon. He's visiting next week. So now moving on to defensive back. Some names that we've not heard discussed too much. So one name from Atlanta, Georgia, which is right there with Miami and South Florida as the DB capital of the world. Blake Stewart, 5'11 and a half, 170 pounds. He's a 91 on the composite. So, a lower 4-star on the composite. He's visiting unofficially, I believe, next week also. This is somebody with tremendous athleticism. He's a track guy, pulling up some of his track numbers now. But there's a guy that's not been talked about, Blake Stewart. He has an official visit set, I believe, to Miami in June, but he is visiting unofficially before that. What other schools we got on there?
Clemson and SMU.
Clemson, a program that's done a really good job recruiting Atlanta. You think of guys like Terrell, who's now with the Falcons, but is from the Atlanta area. There's a guy, he's very, very just accomplished on the track. He's a returner. He can play any one of the secondary positions based on what I'm told, looking at some of his stats here. We'll find him. But he's someone, there he is. So Blake Stewart, he is out of date. Anyways, this is what happens when you get names on the fly and we try to give it to you as soon as we get them. But I was told very good track athlete, very good versatility in the secondary, can play all the spots. And he's someone you can keep an eye on, unofficial and a visit already set. 2 more defensive backs to keep an eye on. By the way, I'm not going over all the names. I'm going over the new names, right? The names we've gone over a million times, like the Pepes, the Derek Coopers, Calvin Russells. You guys know all those names. Another name to keep an eye on here, Georgia commit, Jontavius Wyman. This is a commit to the University of Georgia. He is from Jonesboro, Georgia, 5'11", 170. He's rated as the number 14 cornerback nationally, 5'11", 170. Not the biggest guy, but a tremendously sticky cover man. Again, Georgia commit. I can see Miami swooping in there and making this one happen.
Pretty crazy. Let me pull up his page here real quick so you guys can see a pretty crazy split on the rankings. One of the other sites must have him rated really highly because 247 has him as the number 36 corner and a 3-star, and the composite has him as a 4-star as the number 16 corner. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think the size, the lack of verified measurables might be hurting him with 247, but there's a reason why Georgia's after him. But Miami's not only recruiting Jontavius Wyman at that school, Jonesboro, Georgia, Jonesboro High School in Georgia. They are also after his teammate, Cortez Redding, 6 foot, 175 safety, number 19 safety on the composite. That one's the same on 247. They're actually higher on him with a number 18 ranking. He is someone who, again, has not been talked about, but potentially a package deal with Jontavius Wyman. Both very, very interested in the Miami Hurricanes. Miami tremendously interested in both of those prospects.
I'm going to start pulling up some of these huddles, D.
All right, you got the names. You guys can talk about them, have fun with them.
Any thoughts, D, before you gotta go about the baseball this weekend? As the team, we just sent them off here a moment ago, and there were just some media availability here. Any thoughts before this Florida series?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be it. It's not it. I mean, there's a whole ACC season ahead of it, but this is going to be the real test for the Hurricanes. I think the starting pitching's been outstanding, and that, again, the stuff is the stuff, no matter who's on the other side of it. So you feel good about those starting pitchers. Obviously, they'll be tested more with this Florida lineup. Blake Sear, he's going to be out for revenge, former Miami Hurricane transfer to the Gators. But between Nick Robert with his increased velocity and pitch mix, Griffin Hughes, tremendous swing and miss stuff carried over from the Cape, ACC pitcher of the week. And then Brian Walters right there with him as far as generating whiffs. I think those three are going to be rock solid. The bullpen is much deeper. You got a lot more veteran arms. You've seen that over the course of these first few games. It's going to come down to the lineup. Is Max Gallo going to be hitting doubles? Is Is Jake Ogden going to continue his torrid pace? Is Cuvée really going to break out like he did, all of last season? That's big games against Florida as well. Are we going to see this offense step up against the caliber of arms that Florida has, some of the best power arms in the country? That's going to be the matchup. If Miami can hit, I think their pitching is going to keep them in games, and it's going to be a very fun series. But so far, so good. To me, clearly better than last year when you look at the totality of the team, the depth of the pitching, their ability to win games, to win close games and have close games. But it's going to come down to Miami's bats against Florida's power arms this weekend. That's the matchup to watch. And by the way, look, that's a road game, but when they get back into town, the Pick 5 plan, 5 games, your choice, one great deal. The Pick 5 plan lets you catch the best Canes baseball matchups on your schedule for just $50. Pick one of the 3 FSU games, 2 ACC matchups, or 2 non-conference games, all for the unbeatable price of $50. But don't wait. The deadline to join is March 22nd. Get your Pick 5 plan today at MiamiHurricanes.com/Pick5. That's MiamiHurricanes/Pick and the number 5, or call 1-800-GO-Canes.
All right. Well, D, I know you gotta get off here. I'll stay on with you guys here, and we'll take a look at some of the video of these prospects. And again, if you're just joining the show right now, we've dropped a handful of names, more than a handful, like 7 or 8 names here that they're definitely targets for Miami and haven't necessarily been discussed. Let me move over here and center myself. Now that it's just going to be me here. But so we've mentioned some names just to go back onto it. The 2027 name, Peyton Houston, a quarterback. Brock Berlin is his offensive coordinator in Shreveport, Louisiana. Evangel Christian Academy, listed at 6 foot, 195. But again, this would be a guy for a couple classes away. So he's someone that Miami is definitely interested in as a target for the 2027 class. We saw some of his highlights earlier. Kyle, you noted that D Money was asking me for my scouting report as I was seeing the film with him for the first time. So a lot of these guys, as we pull up the film here, and if you're listening on audio, you can, of course, find this on YouTube and watch some of these huddles. But we'll start here with Zion Robinson, who just off of this list that we've looked at, maybe looks like the most exciting prospect from a physical standpoint. A 6'4" wide receiver from Mansfield, Texas, outside of the Dallas area there. And let's see what he's got here. This is a top 180 player in the country. Let's see him use his size here in the red zone. Easy one-handed grab. All right, let's see what else he's got here. So beats the guy off the line of scrimmage, creates separation, and there we go. We see his run after catch ability there. The size, obviously, and the movement off the line there at that size was also very impressive, as he takes a screen, and again, nice ability with the ball in his hands after the catch. Does not look to be just a possession type big body receiver. I think whoever it was earlier that said that he's a track guy as well. 10.9 speed, 10.9 in the 100. So there it is again, man. This guy looks like a premier wide receiver. Not all that dissimilar from a Josh Moore, who I think Josh Moore might be a little bit bigger than him, but this is some of the stuff we were seeing from Josh Moore, who of course is on Miami campus already and making a good impression from what we've heard. Here he is in the red zone. So man, this guy looks like an elite receiver, going up and getting it in traffic, touchdown. Man, big fan of this guy. So Zion Robinson, again, out of Mansfield, Texas, a legit target for Miami in this class as the Canes look to really load up here at the wide receiver position. So we'll keep it moving. Let's see who do we have next here. So Joel Irvin, give me a second to pull up his huddle. But again, this is a guy from the west coast of Florida, Fort Myers High School, and only a 3-star right now. But we've seen with Coach Mirabal, Coach Cristobal, the offensive line development, the offensive line discovery, scouting, whatever you want to call it. They really go by their own rules, and Mirabal loves these big, long, athletic types. Let's see what he's got here. Pulling up the tape here, and boom, Joel Irvin, again, offensive tackle. Looks like he's number 77 there, left tackle. Already towering over everyone here, but comes across formation, gets to the second level there, and then you see him finish. So let's see, here he is again. I mean, pretty impressive early on move. I mean, that might have been the same play from a different angle. Yeah. Here we go against some more size here on the perimeter. So obviously the size is what we're noticing right off the bat. His finish on the first couple plays has been impressive. But these are the type of linemen. Here he is again, second level driving. So these are the types of guys with these body types, with this, athleticism. We've seen him come across the formation a couple times that you want to see out of a Mirabal ball of clay, so to speak, right? And he's someone who we haven't heard his name until just now. So let's keep him on the radar, and excited to see him over the camp circuit here, maybe at the Under Armour camp this weekend. I got to see if he's going to be out there. That would be great to see him up close, because the one-on-ones will say a lot about a guy like this and his athleticism. I see the strength. I see the motor on him. They're using him obviously across formation, which is always a good sign in terms of trusting his athleticism. But got to see more. This is the first time we've seen him, but excited about that. Possibly. Anthony Manzano asked me to read his comment about potentially adding a second quarterback in 26. I don't see that to be the case right now. It looks like they're pretty good with Coleman at this point. QB recruiting is obviously a thing that happens pretty early in the cycle these days, just because, you know, these are the foundations of the class. And I doubt you really have to have a plan with the quarterbacks. So that's not something that we've heard to this point in terms of adding another quarterback in the class. You have guys who have redshirted who maybe won't be here a year from now, but you would expect, you know, depending on what happens with a Luke Nickel, and to be a guy who, if he's able to get a red shirt this year in a perfect world, then you can kind of look at him as a guy who gives you some space between these classes. All right, moving along here, as we are looking at some new names that have emerged this morning, as D Money has just dropped some of these names here. Just talk about Joel Irvin, 2026 tackle out of Fort Myers. Moving along here to Blake Stewart, a safety from Woodward Academy. Just give me a moment here to pull his huddle up. But this is a guy who, let me see here. 247 has him as a 4-star in the composite rankings. They have him as a 3-star in their own rankings. Listed at 5'11 and a half, 170. Offers, yes, this is the guy we were just talking about who already has official visits set up to Clemson and SMU, as well as Miami. So you'd expect him, just based on that, to be a guy who ends up closer to a solid 4-star than in that 3-star range. But let's pull up this tape here. Give me a second as the ad is finishing on Huddle. So 170. Let's see if he looks like a guy who potentially needs to add weight. Obviously, 170 is not what you want to see, but let's see here. So here he is at safety, covering a lot of ground there. Boom. All right. So the size, I don't care about that right off the bat. That doesn't seem like a concern. Physicality immediately. All right. There he is. Right place, right time, and then making the return. Yeah, no, man. This guy looks like a jitterbug, man. That first play was physical. Again, 5'11 and a half, 170. Here he is in the return game. You always love to see that. We harp on this. The best players on the team, the best athletes, you're going to see them getting snaps at QB. You're going to see them, you know, in the return game. And there he is. I mean, look, this is a guy who obviously they're big on the evaluation on this guy, and here he is at wide receiver. Stud. Yeah, stud. Really nice ball skills on him. That first play is still the one that sticks out to me with that physicality, with that hit coming downhill, covering the space he did, and boom. Again, you love this feistiness, the peskiness. Is he a nickel? Is he a safety? Probably more of a guy you move all around, but again, here he is in the return game. Jacoby Gragg saying we need him. Yeah, man, this guy seems like a dog. I'm getting some Trajan Bandy vibes, man. We hear that a lot. He's maybe an inch or two taller than Trajan, but that's what is popping off on this tape to me right now. And Trajan obviously was a stud returner as well. Christianville says looks like a nickel to me. Agreed. That's what I'm seeing. But I love that willingness to come up and tackle, man. I really, really like that in the return game. I'm really loving how many guys we're seeing with return ability that Miami's been recruiting this last year. I feel like that's something that you're going to have on the roster that maybe was not the case when Mario first took over. Here he is in coverage again. And reads it. Not sure what the quarterback was doing there, but now really, really big fan of this guy right here. Again, I'm watching these slowly because this is my first time seeing this tape as well. So I'm trying to watch it and not say anything too crazy, but give my thoughts as well. So that was impressive tape there from Blake Stewart, again from Woodward Academy in Atlanta, and some big time schools going after him right now as well. Miami, official visit June 13th, Clemson May 30th, and SMU May 2nd. So keeping it moving here, a couple teammates, Jontavius Wyman, a UGA commit, and Cortez Redding. So we'll start with Wyman. Give me a second here. Let me pull this tape up. But Wyman they're from Jonesboro High School in Jonesboro, Georgia. This is the one that I was just saying a moment ago, listed as the number 36 corner in the country on 247, but in the composite, which encompasses all of the rankings, ESPN, Rivals, on 3, right? Is ESPN, do they even still have a recruiting department? I don't know. But all the major services, they bring those rankings together and they put an average to it. And on that one, he's ranked as the number 14 corner in the country. And again, Georgia commits. So I'll probably go with that more than the 3-star ranking on 247. But hold on a second. Sorry, I keep forgetting. I gotta let these ads play on the huddle tape before we go. But all right, this is cool. Wyman has his defensive highlights. He has return game highlights. We were just speaking about how much we like those guys who can play in the return game. And he has a 2.5-minute highlight in the return game, but he also has a full junior season. So I'm going to pull that one up. So maybe we get a little bit of defense and a little bit of offense. Again, this is a guy who's currently committed to Georgia. Miami's on him, as well as his teammate, Cortez Redding. So potential package deal working there. We've seen this before, Miami. Understanding it's tough sometimes to get into SEC country. So go after, a pair of teammates, trio of teammates, and see if that maybe brings you some more luck. But here is Jontavius Wyman's highlights from last season. He's listed at, let me see here real quick, listed at 5'11", 170. So, oof. There he is, making a play offensively, just getting the ball out wide, making a guy miss. And what did I just say? I literally just said this watching someone else's tape, not knowing this was going to be the case. Love to see guys who are getting snaps at QB in situations like this near the goal line when you need a score. Go get the ball in your best player's hands. Here he is again in the return game. And again, this is a guy who has a teammate in Cortez Redding that we'll get to in just a second here, who's a 4-star prospect and actually rated higher on 247 than him. So, it's not like he's playing on a team that doesn't have much talent. Here he is at wide receiver, throwing the ball up to him near the goal line. Just really loving these athletes all around, man, that Miami has been recruiting that are just ball players. Testing wise, I don't know what his track numbers are. I don't know if he is a track guy, but a lot of these guys are playing multiple sports, playing multiple positions, verified track times and measurables. You see this guy, you see his ball skills here, and then a knack for the end zone, man. Ooh, man, that was nice. That looked like the old, I got to see that again. That looked like the old Lamar Jackson highlight where he's, oh, man, baller. Love this guy. And yeah, Jacoby Gragg says kind of what I was saying, man, a lot like Blake Stewart, these twitched up, versatile defensive backs, return guys. You see what they can do offensively. I don't think that they're being recruited on the offensive side of the ball, but nose for the end zone again. So big time, man. I'm really excited about these guys. Here he is again, defensive side of the ball with the interception. So that's one of the 2 prospects at Jonesboro High School Miami's on. That was Jontavius Wyman. Now let me get to Cortez Redding, who's listed as a safety. And man, talk about a great high school secondary right there. You got Redding along with Jontavius Wyman. So Redding is not committed anywhere right now. Again, Wyman is currently committed to Georgia, not stopping Miami from recruiting him. But Redding, as these ads load here, is his teammate, and he's uncommitted right now. Like I said, he already has an official visit lined up to NC State. FSU's recruiting him. Pat Surtain Sr. is on him, so that's one to watch. Auburn offer. So this is a guy who's not under the radar by any means. 4-star prospect in the composite and on the 247 rating. And here are his highlights real quick. All right, boom. Let me bring it back for you. All right, so here he is. Nice break on the ball. High points it, and should be an easy pick six there. So again, he's listed, Cortez Redding, it is that we're watching, is listed as a safety. In the first 2 snaps, we've seen him play safety here. More of a deep coverage role as opposed to Jontavius Wyman, who was playing kind of all over the field as we saw. But 2 plays, 2 pick sixes. Next up here, another free safety one. And yeah, nice play in the end zone. So this is a guy who very much so looks like he has ball skills, playing that deep safety role, covering a lot of ground back there. And he's wanted, man. Florida, Auburn, NC State, Florida State. Boom, there he is again. So impressive set of teammates here, Jontavius Wyman and Cortez Redding. And then the last one, who he's a prospect that we've mentioned before, but is a bit of a scoop, as D Money mentioned. Ben Cogden, offensive lineman, will be visiting Miami unofficially this weekend. So if you're just joining the show, went through a bunch of names here as Miami is continuing to do work on the recruiting trail, have some visitors in town this weekend, have official visits coming up. So very much so, Miami is doing what they can now on the 2026 trail, and more names continuing to emerge here, as we mentioned today, on the bank. If you're just joining us now, go back to the beginning of the show. We've gone through these names a couple times now because we were getting them pretty much today. We got some of these names. So I should say D Money got a lot of these names. So we watched this film for the first time here. So I apologize if it wasn't fully detailed, but we were watching it here live as we see it. But that's what we love to do here at Canes Insight, is interact with you guys, see it as we see it as it happens, and go from there. Keep it locked here on Canes Insight. Appreciate you all for watching the show today. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We will see you guys tomorrow.